Let's look at day 7. Luke chapter 1, verse 34 through 38. We just read that the angel Gabriel has come to Mary, this unmarried girl. She's a virgin, so probably she's young. It also, I think, is being used in kind of the physically intimate kind of description, like she hasn't slept with a guy. And the angel says, you're going to have a child. So let's read what it says in response. Like, what is Mary's reply? What would your reply be if you were this teenage girl that hadn't slept with a guy, but an angel says, you're going to have a baby grow inside of you. He's going to be put on the throne of your father David, and his kingdom will never end. What would you say? What would be your first reaction? And Mary said to the angel, how will this be, since I am a virgin? Her first question is very personal. It's interesting. She doesn't jump to the question of like, how will this child be like a king on the throne of David? Like we're ruled by the Romans. She doesn't ask that. It's very, very personal. It's like, wait a second, what's happening to my body, right? Now, I think the question is interesting because I don't know if you remember, but didn't Zechariah ask what felt like the same type of question? He was like, how will this be? My wife is too old to have kids. And Gabriel said, shut up for 9 months, right? And I feel like we get a little bit of a clue about the tone of his question. And it was a tone that was saying that God can't do this or something. And he was rebuked. Well, what is the angel going to say to Mary? The angel answered her, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. So, in some ways, the angel does not answer her. He doesn't give her a scientific explanation for how this is going to work. He also doesn't rebuke her. So we're just noticing the things that it says and trying to kind of imagine what it means. What he does is he answers with a bigger answer. The bigger answer is, this is the work of God. So it's a little bit of a cheat. It's a cheat code. It's like, well, if it's the work of God, then he can do whatever he wants, right? Like there was a moment where all of time and space, where this universe, where this atmosphere, there was a moment where it began. Out of nothing came something. And then essentially the angel is saying the same thing's going to happen in your body. There's going to be no life, and then the Holy Spirit is going to put life inside of you. So it's not natural. It's supernatural. It's not normal. It's miraculous. So behold, that means look. Your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son. Now, up until now, I don't think we knew that they were related, but somehow they are related, and the angel is giving her proof. Now, remember, when Zechariah doubted the angel said, you're going to be silent until this comes, and immediately he was silent. So the cool thing is, there was proof for that miracle even before it took place. And there was proof, and then Zechariah and Elizabeth, they partnered with the promise, right? And she conceived. And now, 6 months later, the angel is telling Mary, there's some proof that what I'm telling you, there's proof that it's true, right? Behold, your relative Elizabeth in her old age has also conceived a son. And this is the 6th month with her who was called barren. What does that word barren mean? It means you can't have kids. So there was a space where there was no life. It was inside Elizabeth, old Elizabeth. And then there was no life, and then there was life. And the angel is essentially saying, if I did it then, 6 months ago, I can do it now. In you. A space where there is no life, a virgin, there will be life. And for nothing will be impossible with God. So you see, this is the angel's explanation. It's not a scientific explanation. It is a theological explanation. And so this kind of brings me down to this: what should I do? Like when I am facing situations, there are more than one ways to answer to satisfy my doubts. You can answer things logically. You can say 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4. You can answer things, with a logical plan or logical progression, right? If we're out of money, how are we going to get money? I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to work a certain number of hours and get a paycheck, right? So you can see there's that way of solving problems logically, statistically, scientifically. But this is a theological answer, which simply says, God is going to do it, and nothing is impossible with God. So you can look at situations all day long and say that's impossible. Well, it's impossible for you. And it might be impossible for all people, but nothing is impossible with God. This is a theological answer, and you and I would do really well to remember this answer a lot of the time. Now, does this mean the angel says there's no evidence? No, of course there's evidence. There's evidence that a miraculous conception will happen. The evidence is 6 months in Elizabeth's womb. What other evidence is it? Well, the evidence that there was no life and then God created life. Like even now, like we can look at the evidence of an expanding universe. We can run the time back and we can recognize that the universe had a beginning. Now, there was a moment where there was no universe, and then there was the universe. And so even now there's evidence, there's scientific evidence for the beginning of the universe. And the question is, well, who started that universe? How did it begin? And the theological answer, it's not a scientific answer, that you can replicate. You can't. It's not scientific observation. You can't replicate the beginning of the universe. Just like you can't replicate the immaculate conception of a baby in a virgin's womb. But there is still evidence for it, and that evidence is theological. If God could do the beginning of the universe, if God could plant a child, if God could bring life in a barren woman's womb, he can also bring life in a virgin's womb. And Mary said, so she's still allowed to talk, and I think you get a clue at her heart, don't you? And Mary said, behold, that means look, I am the servant of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word. And the angel departed from her. So what is Mary's reaction? Her reaction is, let's do this. Her reaction is, bring it on. Her reaction is, I'm in. I'm game. You say it, I'm in. And man, don't you love people like that? When you come to them and say, here's what I want to do. And they say, let's go. She clearly has a humility and a willingness to be on board with the impossible work of the Lord. And a lot has been made of this reaction. A lot has been talked about it, and I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of little glimpses at Mary's life, and the beautiful thing is, a little bit later on, we're going to hear more from Mary, and I'm not surprised that people are blown away with her reaction, that people love to kind of identify with her, because you really get to see what it looks like to respond in such a way that you get caught up in this adventure that the Lord is doing. So, what should you do? You should respond the same way. Let it be to me. Do the thing you said you're going to do, God. Do it in me. Do it with me. I'm in. And